Hello and welcome to this bonus episode of For Every Response, sponsored by MSA Safety. I'm Catherine Levin and I'm the editor of Emergency Services Times. In this episode, we meet 4 first-time exhibitors from the Emergency Services Show. We thought it would be great to hear from suppliers who are new to us, maybe to the emergency services, and find out a bit more about their experience, as well as getting to know what they do to solve challenges faced by first responders. We asked Claire Whitaker to interview our first-timers. You may remember Claire from the 2024 show, where she hosted our sustainability stage. She finds out why they decided to join us in 2025, what they do, and why they all want to be part of the show in 2026. We'll hear from Dolls, Tiger's Eye, Try Lilly, and BODD. They are an eclectic and fascinating mix of suppliers. Tiger's Eye makes bras for women working on the front line, learning from the military to bring comfort and flexibility in the most challenging environments. Try Lilly is a Liverpool-based company with a pedigree going back decades, supplying hats to the emergency services. And Dolls offers interpreting and translation services. So let's start with BODD. For listeners of a certain age, and I include myself in this bracket, BODD is a cartoon character, and you will hear the music in your head as soon as you recollect the simple graphics of the 1970s. But here, BODD offers technology solutions for uniform sizing. Ryan Harper, Business Development Manager from Australian company BODD, tells us more about the company, the problems they're addressing with their body scanning technology, and his impressions of the show.
And I guess the best way to describe BODD is we're a uniform sizing technology company. I guess at the core of what we do is helping large workforces effectively and efficiently size their workforce into uniforms. And we do that through an incredible piece of 3D body scanning technology and accompanying software technology that we've all developed in-house ourselves. So we're a Melbourne-based company out of Australia, but we have a real global presence. So we have our scanners deployed all over the globe. So we have scanners in the United States, where I'm based, Australia, New Zealand, UK, Europe, and the Middle East. And we're sort of starting to have an ever-increasing presence in this part of the world. So really excited to be at this show. It's been fantastic.
What problem are you addressing with this body scanning technology?
Yeah, it's been really interesting, the conversations we've had. So the original technology was developed to help, help solve the problem of the textiles industry around sizing and waste. But as we started developing the technology, we realised there was a real opportunity to help large workforces, particularly in emergency services, police, military, to accurately size their workforce. And I guess there's 3 real benefits of our technology. Number one, it's an enormous efficiency tool. So we can scan, size and fit an individual using 400 different measurements in the 60-second scan. And then we can then match that really high quality body data against their uniform catalogue almost instantaneously. So there's enormous amounts of labour efficiencies and time efficiencies when you compare that to the traditional measuring methods in change rooms. And the other sort of secondary benefit to that is once you have really clear body data of your workforce, or accurate body data, it helps to make really informed decisions around inventory management. So you're actually not guessing the sizing that you need to order.
Right.
You actually got real data. And if you get that wrong by 5 or 10%, it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So there's that. And then, probably the really exciting part for organisations that manufacture or in the R&D processes, when you've got thousands of unique scans of your workforce, you can actually use that data, that real body data, to make informed decisions around pattern development. And one of the, sort of looping back to one of the challenges that we're trying to help organisations overcome is the female fit, particularly in the emergency services space. So I've had probably 5 or 6 different conversations with people in the uniform space, or even just first responders, female first responders, about how challenging it is for them to get the correct
right
fitting
size.
uniform. And when I started exploring that a little bit more, it sort of came clear that some pattern designs or uniforms haven't been changed over since 2010, 2015, so nearly 10 years. Yeah, maybe back then the workforce was representative of 70% male, 30% female, but it's very much 50-50 now.
Really?
But the female uniform hasn't really adapted, so they kind of get the best of the smallest men's size. And when you're in emergency services, if you're a first responder, a paramedic, fire, functional fit is crucial to your job performance, but not only from a comfort perspective, health and safety.
Absolutely. I've been hearing that today.
It's just, it really is. So we've had, probably that's where the light bulb has gone off for companies that have been talking to us. So sure, we can help drive efficiencies around sizing and measuring, but
so if a service, sorry to interrupt, but if a service was to deploy this body scanning technology, would the person who's been scanned then expect this perfectly fitting uniform? Because that might not be the case.
No, it's not the case. And that's a really great question. So there's a couple of parts to our business model or our technology that we have implemented to really help us have the best ability or the best way to have the correct fitting uniform. So step one is we have the scanning technology, so we get the body data. The second step to that is we then upload all the technical specifications of the uniform garments, so your uniform catalogue. But the third and really important part that we do is we have a very one-on-one session with our customers to understand what we call fit logic. And fit logic really surrounds of how do they as the organisation, they as a customer want the uniform to look, perform, present, function on their workforce. And that's particularly important if you're a first responder and your preference, and it's all around user preference. I want really tight pants. But if you can't jump that wall as a police officer and they split, that's not how it works. So we can put rules, business rules in place that can either help enforce or guide our customers to put their staff into the correct functional fitting uniform. Okay.
What brought you to the show this year?
It's our first time. We've had a lot of interaction with customers throughout the UK and Europe, but I think this is one of the biggest shows in the industry, so it's an amazing way for us to be able to showcase our technology to customers that we may not have even got the opportunity to get in front of. Big uniform suppliers, big uniform designers. And look, it's even just great to get feedback from frontline paramedics and first responders about the challenges that they are facing. So that helps us understand the landscape a little bit better.
It's interesting that Ryan talks about the driver being efficiency in terms of time spent and reducing waste from the textiles industry. But he also homes in on the need for improving female fit. We had discussions about PPE and the need for fit to form elsewhere in the show on the Protecting the Protector stage. This brings us on nicely to our next first-time exhibitor, Tiger's Eye. Sarah Snyder Kamen is a US military veteran who founded her company because she had been so frustrated by the lack of supportive bras for women fighting in combat zones. No longer in the military, she brings her passion to the emergency services world and finds a lot of interest, as you'll hear in her conversations with Claire. She tells her what makes these sports bras so special.
Unlike other sports bras on the market that are made for 1 to 2 hours in the gym and then you're calling it a day and you're ripping that thing off as quick as you can, our bras are made specially for women in the military, women who are on long shift work that need something that is a balance of comfort and support that is going to get them through their day without having to think about their breasts for a second.
And it's something that you felt you needed, I suppose, back in the military.
Absolutely. I spent 9 years in the United States Marine Corps. I was a military police officer. I suffered from all kinds of back, breast, shoulder issues. I actually ended up getting medically retired due to some of those issues. I've had a breast reduction myself, and most recently I actually had a disc replacement in my spine due to nerve impingement and damage. So having a bra that encapsulates everything I wish I had had while I was serving, all of my heart and soul has gone into this bra.
Absolutely. And why is it that Tiger's Eye has decided to come to exhibit here at the Emergency Services Show?
Absolutely. The women population in these services is so underrepresented to begin with, let alone thinking that a bra is something that's just a fashion accessory or just underwear. It is as essential to a women's kit as their boots or their body armor is.
What kind of response have you had here so far?
Phenomenal. No one was thinking, oh, I'm going to see sports bras at an emergency services show. And then they think about it and they're like, oh, yeah, it would be great if my breasts weren't an issue every single day I was at work.
Wow. Okay. So just tell us, I mean, you told us a little bit of an overview, but how does this bra actually solve real problems faced by emergency services workers?
So these are women in careers that you go from 0 to 100 in seconds. You could be at a desk and then you're on a foot patrol or you're trying to save someone's life. So every feature in this bra is built to support them throughout the day. So we've got widened and padded shoulder straps that don't pinch in if you're wearing any kind of pack, vest, anything like that. We have internal silicone grips. These keep your breasts in the cups. So when you go left, your breasts go with you as opposed to sometimes going the other direction. The entire bra is antibacterial. So if you're a firefighter, if you're in the police force and you're doing 12, 24, 48-hour shifts, you don't have to worry about it being smelly or stinky. You don't have to worry about any kind of skin reaction or like eczema issues. It's always ready to go. You never have to think, is my bra clean? Do I have something for the day?
What kind of conversations have you had with some of the people who've come to your stall?
I think the biggest thing is the lack of education in breast health. Unfortunately, it's not a big part of, education growing up. So you have women that are wearing sometimes double bras that can cause so many health issues, not to mention performance reducing problems. So when you don't have an accurate and good bra, you're dealing with stride reduction, you're dealing with increased breast movement, back, neck, shoulder pain. All of these things can lead to migraines, numbness, finger and nerve impingement. The problems with bras is if the other half of the population had them, this would have been solved 1,000 years ago.
So are there specific conversations that you can bring to mind, like, for example, a firefighter or a police officer, somebody who feels that this in their role would make a real difference?
Absolutely. So we've had several women come to us. We've had police and fire that have come, and one particular woman, she's actually ended up buying 4 of our bras after trying it for the first time. And she said, so she works for the Met Police, and she said that it's the only bra she'll wear now because she does desk work. She'll also go and do foot patrols. She's an immediate response individual. So not having to think about your breasts and getting them out of the equation during the day is phenomenal.
Do you think it's something that women were embarrassed to talk about before?
100%. I think this, similar to the topic of menstruation, it's all been kind of taboo in the past. But as women are entering these male-dominated quotation mark areas, they need to be spoken about more. This needs to be a part of a woman's kit. It's not a fashion accessory. It is as important as their body armor, as their boobs.
Because underwear obviously is bought by the individual, I imagine, rather than by the service. Is that something you'd like to see change?
Absolutely. So the Army and the UK Army and the UK Navy are doing a reimbursement program for sports bras. However, if the bras you are still buying are inadequate, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at the problem if you're not addressing the root cause, which is the bra itself.
I love Sarah's passion, but also find it slightly depressing that in 2025, we are still talking about something as fundamental as the comfort of women on the front line. She uses a great line in her conversation with Claire. A bra is as essential to a woman's kit as their boots and their body armor, she says. She's right, and I hope the conversations Sarah had at the show continue back in services too. Moving on to a different body part, we have our third first-time exhibitor, Try Lilly. Emma Graham is the business development director for this Liverpool-based uniform cap manufacturer. She talks to Claire about why a company that's been around for decades has decided in 2025 to exhibit at the Emergency Services Show.
Well, first of all, we were going to just come have a look, come as a visitor, see what it was all about. Then I started looking into it a little bit more and thought it was too much of a good opportunity to miss. Did a little bit of research to see who else would be exhibiting here, the type of visitor that you get, and noted that there was quite a few of our customers in attendance. So we thought, OK, let's give it a go. The other reason is that we have recently acquired a competitor, CW Headdress. They made police helmets for all of the UK. We've now acquired that, and we thought it'd be a really good opportunity to allow people to come and talk to us about what this acquisition might mean for them.
So you've got a police helmet, talking of which, right in front of you, or a police hat.
This is a police cap.
Cap, you call it a cap. Tell us about why this is special.
Okay, so this is unique to Try Lilly. It's an aerolite cap. What makes it very different to everything else on the market is it's extremely comfortable to wear. The reason being, I'll describe it now for you. It has a leather, perforated leather here.
The band around the head.
Band around the head. That's perforated to allow airflow. If you look under here, it's created around what we call a mesh stiffener.
Okay.
Okay. When we fit the leather, we pull it really tight. It's called drumming. When we do that, it creates a comfort gap, which allows airflow around the head. Because that leather is pulled tight, it means that that's the only piece of the cap that's actually touching your head. So there's no pressure points. You then add in our peaking method. Normally, the peak has 2 pieces at the end that will come directly through here. Again, you'd have pressure points at either side of your head. We attach it to a plastic strip. And again, that method means it's extremely comfortable. So you just run your hand around there like that.
Okay, I'll have a go. Oh, interesting. Yeah, it feels very smooth, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Great. Is this a new product that you're showing?
We have been developing it for a while. It has rolled out now to several police forces across the UK. We've brought a lot of them along today so people can actually try them on. But it's something that we've been developing for some time. We rolled it out to the Canadian Navy in 2019.
Wow. So this sort of technology, if you like, that you're incorporating, the kind of airflow and the smoothness, is that something you're going to bring to those helmets? You mentioned you just acquired a helmet manufacturer.
We would definitely like to improve what is in the marketplace at the moment. Obviously, we're in the first stages of starting to manufacture these helmets again. We have done it in the past, but we think there's definitely room for improvement there.
So the conversations you've been having with people here, what do they cover? Do people say, oh yeah, my helmet really hurts, I'd really like to kind of try this sort of new kit? What kind of conversations have you had?
The conversations we've been having actually are from current customers coming to us and saying, oh, I actually really like my cap, it's really comfortable. It's interesting because we were reading the National Police Uniform Survey where they were talking about a lot of the clothing and a lot of the kit. Some of it is unfit for purpose and uncomfortable. Comfort is really important to us. We're continually improving. What would be really good, though, is if we could get to the end users and talk to them about what they think is good, what could be improved. It proves difficult because we're moving away from the end user. Managed services are being introduced. So you're going through that service. It then goes to the end user there. And
so you don't get to speak to the frontline officer, for example?
Exactly, yeah.
So a show like this is actually great to be able to speak to those people directly.
Yeah, it's really good.
So you said some of those conversations have been with people who already use your kit. Mm-hmm. Have you had conversations with people who aren't using your kit, who've said that they have some sort of problem with what they currently use?
We did have a police force come to see us only yesterday. They said the caps that they had were reasonable. They were looking for something better. We spoke about aerolite and they've asked for a sample.
Great,
yeah.
Great. So obviously you mentioned comfort, but I presume it's not just comfort, it's about actually allowing people to do their jobs better, isn't it? Which is obviously life and death sometimes.
Well, yes, if you're comfortable, you can do your job much better.
I'm enjoying learning new terminology here, with drumming not being about making lots of noise, and hearing Claire's experience of handling the caps. It's a good reminder that trade shows like ours are a chance to get up close to products and have conversations to improve your understanding. You'll always come away from the Emergency Services Show learning something new and understanding what developments are in train or coming down the line. Emma also references the Police Federation Uniform Survey. We learned about this from 2 Lancaster University academics on the People and Skills stage at the show. You can hear that session in a future episode of For Every Response.
This episode of the Emergency Services Times podcast is sponsored by MSA Safety, proudly supporting emergency services and first responders on the front line. At MSA Safety, protecting first responders isn't just what we do, it's who we are. We work closely with fire and rescue services across the UK to develop and deliver safety solutions designed to meet your ever-evolving needs. That includes MSA Bristol Firefighter PPE, trusted by services across the UK and beyond, shaped through years of collaboration with frontline teams. It also includes our growing investment in innovation and technology, from the connected M1 SCBA modular solution to our agile, fully managed service model that helps keep crews protected and ready to respond. But for us, safety goes beyond equipment. We believe in standing shoulder to shoulder with the people who dedicate their lives to protecting others, whether it's supporting firefighter charities, backing mental health initiatives, or showing up for community events. MSA is proud to be part of the emergency services family. To learn more about our work in the UK and how we're supporting first responders every step of the way, visit www.msasafety.com. With MSA Safety, when you go in, we go in with you.
Now for something completely different. Language. Our fourth first-time exhibitor, Manchester-based Dells, brought their interpreting and translation services to our emergency services audience. Nick Clancy joined Claire to talk about the transition from show visitor to show exhibitor and why COVID proved to be such a tipping point for this firm.
We've been before as a visitor, and I walked around and found that I made a load of contacts from people that I hadn't realised would be coming to this show. So it just made it obvious that we should be here and have a stand here and make more contact with people. We have a number of clients that are in the emergency services arena, but there are so many more that would require language services that we've started to meet.
Tell us a bit about how the services actually work. Are you talking about an actual person or some sort of tech solution?
Yeah, it's both. Really, right from the beginning of Dell, it's always been a face-to-face interpretation and translation business. But over time, and really as the kick-off of COVID, it really kicked everything around the world into a different state, and people had to work remotely, which meant that people requiring language services still needed somebody to help them. So in terms of sending face-to-face, it used to be a large part of the business. Now we're moving much more to on-demand video and on-demand telephone, because there are over 5 million people in the UK that their first language is not English or Welsh. And those 5 million people may require emergency services or any other service in the UK. So we provide that connection with an interpreter, either on demand. So say somebody's in hospital, arrived in hospital, needs somebody there and then to be able to understand what's happening to them. We have an on-demand service that the hospital would use and connect an interpreter there and then within 30 seconds.
Online?
On telephone, usually.
On a telephone, okay.
Now, if it's a situation that is a bit more serious or we need a face-to-face interpreter, there's a video-on-demand service. So there's a tablet that is in the NHS, it's in police services. We're rolling it out in the minute to have somebody, it's really a face-to-face but on demand. So you have a real person on screen, and the vulnerable person is able to speak to them directly. It reduces stress for that individual. Say somebody has been arrested or is a victim of crime. We've found that telephone interpreting fits the bill, but video brings the calmness in.
Right.
Where they see somebody of their language from their area where they're from.
And for a medical problem, that might be important
medical problem
anyway.
or victim of a crime.
Right, I see.
It's a big part of the business at the minute. We're rolling out this video on demand service, and people are really warming to it. There's another part, a really large part of the service we provide is non-spoken, because people, if you don't know a person that is deaf or hard of hearing, then you won't really know this requirement. But non-spoken languages is very required. Somebody who is deaf and can't converse properly, still the same situation. They might go to hospital. They may be in a stressful situation. They need somebody there. Yeah. We have a video on demand service for that as well now. So a real person, it's not AI. Yeah. A real person is on screen signing to the individual that requires it.
Interesting. Yeah. What kind of conversations have you had with people so far at the Emergency Services Show?
Really about the on demand service, because in the UK at the moment, there's lots of various situations where people are requiring emergency services. Now, it could be Coast Guard, it could be Fire Brigade. I was talking to Fire Brigade yesterday, actually, and they said, really regardless of what happens to that individual, they will still cut the the car roof off. They don't need to speak to that individual. They'll still save them. But then once that person's saved, the conversations after that are you okay? Where's it hurting? Those type of conversations that they can't have. So that's when interpretation services would come in use and help that individual.
So in that situation, the firefighters might not know what language this person speaks, but they'd contact you. And how would you know? How would you suddenly have that information?
Yeah, we have a guide with flags on that people can point to. And also very often they know their language in English. They can see it. There's a list on the video on demand screen. And also they can always just go straight through the telephone service and speak to an individual speaking English and be able to work out where this person's from and what language they require. So 9 times out of 10 we can find something. If somebody isn't aware, we can't understand them, to be able to get their language for them.
Moving from face-to-face to online is a common theme coming out of COVID. It's interesting to hear Nick talking about on-demand translation using video as a faster way to respond to people's needs and reduce stress levels. I was taken by the phrase, video brings the calmness in, and how he was quick to tell Claire that the translator is a real person and not an AI. So that's all 4 of our first-time exhibitors sharing their views on the show and what problem they are solving for the emergency services. Claire did ask each of them to provide one piece of advice for a company considering exhibiting at the 2026 show. Helpfully, the advice starts with pre-show planning. They told her about the need to do research before the event and tell your customers and your network that you're going to be there, making appointments to create a commitment. Then, during the show, there is advice on how to make the most of precious time. Being open and prepared for conversations throughout the show, being present and having enough of the team there to keep energy levels up. It's a golden opportunity to build a network, and once the show is over, it is crucial to follow up with everyone. The lead scanner is indeed your friend. This is all advice we absolutely agree with, and it's great to hear this from our first-time exhibitors. That's it from me for this special episode filled with tips and insights perfect for anyone who is looking at exhibiting in 2026. My thanks to Ryan Harper, Sarah Snyder Kamen, Emma Graham and Nick Clancy for joining Claire in the podcast studio at the show. Look out next week for more sessions from the Emergency Services Show and the Emergency Tech Show. All our podcast episodes are sponsored by MSA Safety, and we're so grateful to them for their support. Thanks also to Tom St. John for expertly producing this episode. Be sure to share, like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to For Every Response, the podcast from Emergency Services Times.